Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Ajay Bam, CEO and co-founder of Warl. And essentially, Warl is a video insights and commerce platform. We're based in San Francisco. And what we do, we make all video content searchable and useful for brands and retailers to help them drive customer acquisition and revenue with all things video. We have been around now for about 5 years now, and we're growing fast. You'll see us, you'll hear about us. Recently, we're launching with some big retailers and brands by end of this year. Really a 8-person startup, raising a seed round right now, and growing fast.
Awesome.
That's far.
And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in this world does your story begin?
So my story begins, really my journey for my current startup in 2018, and doing a startup is a very stressful. It's a very stressful commitment. It's a commitment that comes with a lot of risk, with a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes you're shaken as well as you continue this path of. I think for me, I've always believed that keeping your health in good shape is very important. If your brain is, if your health is alive, then your startup is alive, as I would say. And so, I've always believed that I need to have some sort of physical and mental goals above and beyond my startup when I'm doing this. And so in 2018, I volunteered to do a bike ride in Africa from Lusaka to Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. And really, the goal was to raise money for HIV children in Zambia. Many of them who have lost their parents in 1990s when the Zambian government did not believe that HIV was happening, and there were no medications for a significant population that was HIV positive. So there are more than 5,000 orphans who are now essentially live on both government and private aid. And so I did this bike ride with Bike Zambia. And for me, just growing up, I was not an athlete. I was not a sports guy, very bookish, very academic. And so doing 600 miles in 6 days was a challenge that I decided to take up as I was launching my current venture, Warl. And, honestly, I loaned a bike from a friend to really train for this bike ride. And 600 miles in 6 days, you're talking about 100 miles. So for me, it was going from, I do a lot of city biking in San Francisco, but going from 5 miles a day to 100 miles a day requires a very different level of strength and energy where your mind is. But this is where I think that having community, having a group of friends who support you, who cheer you up. And so I trained for 9 months, and I had not believed that I could do this. And with a lot of support, I would say more than 6 of my friends came together, both to lend bike, to really help me train for long distance. One of them became my coach. Two of them picked me and dropped me off on these long rides. And so we were 30 riders who came together in Zambia. So the training went amazing. And finally, when we arrived in Zambia, the first thing we did was we met with these children. They're from babies to, some of the kids are old now. They're about 12 years old. And, when you're there, you finally realize that what humanity is, and how much we have in America, the food on our table, and the money we waste, the food we waste here, the resources we take for granted. So when you're in a country where kids have nothing, and you're their hope, you're their survival, it really puts things in perspective. And so for me, we did do the ride in 6 days, raised about $160,000 for HIV children, and for those, we're always looking for volunteers every year. If you're interested in this organization that really makes a difference in people's lives and honestly, life and death, it's called Bike Zambia in Africa, and you can look them up. And I'm happy to make an intro as well if you ever reach out to me. So for me, even during the ride, we trained on racing bikes, but there we actually were on mountain bikes. So again, we were 30 strangers who met from around the world. So there were people from 8 different countries, and to ride through these villages and towns where these Zambians were cheering us, and it was just to see that humanity come together, right? It really puts things in perspective. And for me, the whole 9 months of training actually helped me balance my startup life. The stress never ends. But when you're very determined, and when you go out for that bike ride and you have to finish that 100-mile bike ride this weekend, you're nothing but focused, hyper focused to do it. And you require focus because you're riding on proper state roads. So if you don't pay attention, you could end up in an accident. So I would say that focus, I think, if you have an amazing community support, and I think this now applies to my startup life as well, deeply blessed with amazing mentors and team members, who are hanging in there, and we all believe in a vision, mission. And of course, with my bike ride, it was the vision mission was to support these kids, and we really accomplished that. And believe me, $160,000 may not be much here in US. It's a one-person salary in Silicon Valley. In Zambia, it's life or death for 4,000 kids. So, made a difference. And to me, like every year since then, I've taken up other challenges. I've run half marathons. I've run Boston, New York marathon as well. And it just tells you that everything is possible. Just keep your mind open and have a dream. My dream was Bike Zambia. I'd finish it. And, I got there with support of my community and my friends and my family as well.
I love that. I'm curious because I've done some pretty intense like adventure racing in my life as well, and distilling the things that you learn in preparation of it is huge. Right now I'm thinking of Philmont hike in the Western United States as a Boy Scout, right? We prepped for months, and I have stories upon stories about the preparation for that, young scout. But once you're out there, once you're biking, you're at mile 71 on day one, right? And you're just all the things. And I know that you hit that runner's high, the biker's high, like
Absolutely.
10 miles in, and you're just like marinating in dopamine and all sorts of juicy neurochemicals. And you just have yourself for the most part, right? You're just heads down making it happen. I'm curious if you were able to gather any insights while your mind was on that open road for those 600 miles. And at what point did those really start to get downloaded? And, because it seems like the perfect scenario for a meditation. And so there
I
you
was,
are
I
pumping,
think you just hit
pumping,
the point. I
pumping.
literally was going to bring up focus and meditation. I think what it does really, to be honest with you, is it gives you clarity. So even though I was hyper focused on my bike ride, behind the back, I'm still running a startup. I'm still founding a company, still working at that time in 2018, I was still sorting out the problem that I was working on with my startup and trying to figure that out. But I think what it did was, these deep, intense bike rides, they gave me a lot of time to and think about what's right, what's wrong, what path to follow, what not to do, who to hire, who not to hire, right? It's just focus and meditation. I think it really really helps, and I think part of this journey is also inspiring others as well. I mean, there are people like me who believe that they can't run long distance or they can't do a bike ride. They've never played a sport before, and having that role model. I remember like running my first marathon, and my entire team showed up at the race at
Mm.
in the last 5 miles, and to see my team there, and I was mentally exhausted, but I'm like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do this for them, right? I think it inspires others as well, in people around you, right? I mean, you ultimately surround yourself with people like you, and vice versa.
You
So
said
it
that there was
impact on yourself, but on around you as well, and their mindset as well.
you said there was a specific, it sounds like there was some specific problems that you were on your mind when you started the race. Were you able to resolve them with the insights that you gained while you were on the race? And did it hit you all at once? You were like, yes, this is the person that I need to hire. Like, what were the problems and what solutions did you come up with along the way? And I'm curious, when was it, mile 590 and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I know exactly what to do? Or were you just getting downloads the whole time?
I think what it is, when you're doing a startup and you're a founder, you're getting all kinds of advice. Customers are telling you what's right or wrong. Advisors are telling you. Your team members are telling you. For me, what was interesting was during the race was I knew there were a bunch of problems that we were after, but I wasn't sure, what one thing that we should be focusing on. So I'll give with you an example where I very clear clarity on this. Was, when I started the company, as I mentioned, we do video search. I thought when I started the company, so we work for my pick is for brands and retailers. And so when I started the company, my initial thesis was a brand like Nike or L'Oreal or any big major brands or retailers, Nike would love to know what people are saying about Nike products on social media, so we can help them with social listening and we can help them gather insights and all that, right? So that was my hypothesis, and we had started testing that hypothesis. And there were moments during, we successfully delivered on the project. However, when we would finish the project, the customer would be like, and we would ask them, so do you want to continue on your next project on our platform? And the customers would be like, no, 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 our next project is in 4 months. And they would say, but if you showed us how you can generate more revenue and customer acquisition for us, that then we would be open to being on your platform and signing up for it. And so I'm able to state this very clearly right now on this today, but it wasn't as clear at that time. It was very these two theses were very vague, right? But on that bike ride, right, I finally realized that sort of aha moment was nobody gives a shit about insights. For-profit companies, all they care about is revenue and customer acquisition. And that drove the pivot, if you will, for my company. And here we are today, and that pivot proved me right. And so we're getting a lot of traction now. So, and I think you know this from your business, right? At the end of the day, all we care about is we have all years if you tell me how you're going to grow my business. And that's what matters. And so that clarity, that should be what you should be focusing on, actually came through this sort of these bike rides and just being able to focus and cut the noise.
Was it I'm curious about the logistics of the bike ride as well. So did you leave from the area where the orphanage was and then you circled all the way around to get back to them?
Yeah, yeah. So it's a quick geopolitics. Zambia was a British colony before, and then next door you have Zimbabwe, which going through its own chaos right now with after Mugabe. With everything going on right now. So Zambia is very safe, but Zimbabwe is not. And Victoria, the started in Lusaka, which is on the north, and it ended south on Victoria Falls on the bridge. I mean, I cannot tell you how it's magnifique. I mean, there's no other way to put the bridge. And we were riding in a non-rainy season, okay? And we rode actually 3 days, and then 1 day of break, and then we rode again 3 days. So there was a little bit of time for your body to just recuperate from these 100 miles of daily bike ride. But the whole logistics and planning was once we arrived in Lusaka. So we arrived, all of us gathered at the Lusaka airport at a particular time, and that's when they had a van, essentially with the bikes, and then they had a bus, essentially taking us around the. We started every day. There was a route planned, and so they would take our luggage was coming in the van, and then we would bike from point A to point B to point C. So it was like 7 points, if you will, in 7 days, right? And I remember they had champagne waiting for us on Victoria Falls, and then of course, the big was jumping off, bungee jumping off Victoria Falls. Now you had a choice. I've done bungee jumping before. I did it in New Zealand. So instead of bungee jumping, I chose there's a flying motorcycle. And so there's literally a motorcycle with wings that flies, and it flies about at 5,000 feet. So I chose that because I hadn't done it before, and I flew over Victoria Falls and on the river Zambezi. And I'll tell you one thing: of everything I've ever done in my life, I was crying when I was on this motorcycle up in the air. And the reason I was crying was on Zambezi. I'm not kidding. I saw thousands of giraffes, elephants, rhinos, in the water, in their finest elegance in the nature. In the non-rainy season, Victoria Falls was mind-blowing. I mean, this was this blowing, and I'm like, in the rainy season, the locals were telling me it's 10x the water that you see, right? And so it was such an humbling experience. And as a thank you, we did a cruise afterwards on Zambezi in the evening, and you see the natural wildlife at its finest. It's a very humbling experience. We saw two elephants swimming across Zambezi, crossing the river, and they say you're very lucky you're able to see that in your life because these are giant animals. They're floating. I mean, do you see this big beast floating on the water, and they're crossing and they're having fun, right? And so I was I'm blessed, I would say, to be able to see this scene, before nature disappears. Hopefully not, but
Hopefully not.
the world we're living in right now is shrinking. And so, quite an humbling experience. It's not just it's the community. I'm very grateful. I'll tell you what this did for me. I've always been grateful, but every moment, trips like this, they make you realize what you have, what you don't have in your life, and how lucky are we in America to have all the resources, the energy, the life we have. And so I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful to everything I do in my life. I wake up with a thank you and I end with thank you. And this goes even for my team as well. I just had a one-on-one on my team, and I'm just super blessed. Amazing, amazing team members who are hanging in there, and we're building something awesome.
I love that. Ajay, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you like Eric, you can also post my email ajy@warl.com. Yeah, please reach out. Anything Bike Zambia, or you want to know more about Rage. I've done more trips in Africa. I travel a lot around the world. And I would just say one thing, for everyone, if you haven't had a chance to travel will open you. I realize I've been to more than 78 countries that we're all the same. We're all humans, and in my 78 travels around the world in the last many, many years, there's only one time when someone pickpocketed me. And my point is, the world is safe. It's beautiful. It's what you make of it. Most places on the planet are safe. People who are usually hungry and starving. So there's a reason they do that. But
Yeah, and it's like it turns out I didn't actually need what was in my pocket. It's fine. I've got more.
so I'll just leave you with that thought: is that travel, see the world, and your eyes will open up, and your eyes will open up for your team as well.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.